listen carefully. No one is coming to reset your life for you. No one is going to return the time you quietly let slip through your hands while you waited to feel ready. Those days are gone. The chances you thought you'd come back to later, many of them already passed you by. The mornings you gave away to distractions instead of direction, the ideas you kept delaying, the conversations you kept saying, "I'll do it tomorrow." They didn't pause and wait for you. They moved on, and deep down you already know this. You felt it on those quiet nights when everything slowed down and your mind got honest for a moment. You felt that slight tension in your chest, the awareness that something important was being delayed. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you didn't start. But here's what most people never realize. What you could have become is not gone. It hasn't disappeared. It hasn't expired. It's still there, waiting on the other side of a decision you haven't made yet. And that decision is not complicated. It's not about having everything figured out. It's not about perfect timing, perfect confidence, or perfect conditions. It's simply this. You stop waiting. You decide that now counts. You decide that this moment, exactly as imperfect as it is enough to begin. Because the truth is, the right time you've been waiting for was never going to arrive on its own. It doesn't show up like a signal. It doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't suddenly make everything clear and easy. The right time is something you create, and you create it by acting before you feel ready. Let that sink in. You don't wait for readiness, you build it. Think about it. Every meaningful thing you've ever done in your life, did it start with certainty? Did it begin with full confidence and perfect clarity? Or did it begin with hesitation, doubt, and a step forward anyway? Because that's how real growth always starts. Messy, uncertain, uncomfortable, but real. And here's the part that might hit harder than anything else. If you've been waiting for months, you're not waiting, you're hiding. If you've been waiting for years, you're not preparing, you're tracked. Not by your circumstances, not by other people, but by a story you've been telling yourself. A story that sounds responsible, a story that feels safe, a story that says, "I just need a little more time, a little more clarity, a little better situation." But that story is costing you your life, one quiet day at a time. Because while you're waiting, life is not. It keeps moving. It keeps taking days with it. And every day you delay starting is not just a delay. It's a lost chance to improve, a lost chance to learn, a lost chance to become someone stronger, sharper, more capable. And here's something most people avoid admitting. You don't get those days back, but you do still have today, and today is enough. Not perfect, not ideal, but real. And real is the only thing that creates anything. So the question isn't, when will the right moment come? The question is, how much longer are you going to hide behind it? Because at some point, you have to stop explaining why you haven't started, and just start. Now, let's go deeper. There's another trap that looks harmless, even healthy, but quietly destroys progress over time. It's comfort, not rest. Comfort. And most people don't know the difference. Rest is something you earn. It comes after effort, after pushing yourself, after doing something that required energy, focus, and discipline. Rest restores you. It prepares you to go again. Comfort, on the other hand, is something else entirely. Comfort is when you arrange your life so that nothing really challenges you. No pressure, no resistance, no real demands. Just ease, familiarity, and the avoidance of anything difficult. And at first, it feels good. It feels like peace. It feels like you're taking care of yourself. But slowly, quietly, without making any noise, it starts taking something from you, your edge, your hunger, your drive, your potential, because growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in tension. It happens when you choose the harder path on purpose. Not to punish yourself, but to strengthen yourself. Because every time you avoid something difficult, you're not just avoiding discomfort, you're avoiding the person you could become through it. That hard conversation you keep delaying. It's not just a conversation, it's growth. That work you keep putting off, it's not just work. It's a skill waiting to be built. That challenge you keep avoiding, it's not just an obstacle. It's a doorway, and every time you choose comfort instead, that door stays closed. Not forever, but for now. And enough for nows turn into years. Years where nothing really changed. Years where you stayed the same, while telling yourself you'd change soon. But soon is one of the most dangerous words you can live by. Because it feels like movement, but it's actually delay. And delay has a cost, a quiet cost, a slow cost, a cost you don't notice day by day, but feel deeply when time has passed. There's a kind of confidence you can't fake, a quiet strength. It doesn't come from talking about your goals. It doesn't come from planning. It comes from doing hard things consistently, from choosing what's necessary instead of what's easy, from showing up even when you don't feel like it. Comfort can't give you that. Only effort can, and effort is always available, right now, in the next choice you make. So ask yourself, am I choosing what's easy or what actually builds me? Because that answer, repeated daily, becomes your life. Now there's another layer to this, a subtle one that tricks even smart, driven people. It's planning, endless planning, thinking, researching, organizing, preparing, and it feels productive. It feels like progress, but most of the time it's not. It's movement without direction, activity without outcome, because thinking about doing something is not the same as doing it, and your brain doesn't always know the difference. It rewards both. So you sit there, planning, imagining, designing your future, and you feel like you're getting closer. But in reality, nothing has changed. Nothing has been built, nothing has moved forward, because real progress only happens through action, not intention, not preparation, action. And the truth is, you can prepare forever. There will always be one more thing to learn, one more detail to fix, one more reason to delay. That's how avoidance works. It never runs out of excuses. The only way out is simple. You begin before you feel fully ready. You start with what you have. You accept that the first version will be imperfect, because it's supposed to be. Everything meaningful starts that way. Rough, unpolished, uncertain, but real. And real is what matters, not perfect, not impressive, real. Because once something is real, you can improve it, you can shape it, you can grow it. But if it never begins, it never exists. So ask yourself honestly, how long have I been planning something I haven't started? And more importantly, when does that change? Because if it's not now, then when? And if you're being honest with yourself, you already know the answer. Because deep down, there's a part of you that's tired of waiting, tired of thinking about what could be, tired of imagining a better version of your life without actually stepping into it. That part of you is not weak. That part of you is ready, but it's been waiting for your permission. Now let's confront something most people never want to admit. Being busy does not mean you're moving forward. You can fill your entire day with activity and still go nowhere. You've experienced this. Days where you were constantly doing something, checking messages, replying to people, handling small tasks, staying occupied. But at the end of the day, something felt off. Like you spent energy, but didn't actually move closer to anything that matters. That feeling is real, and it's trying to tell you something important. Not all work is equal. Not all effort leads to progress. There are things you do that keep you busy, and there are things you do that actually change your life. And most people spend their time on the first one, because it's easier, because it's clear, because it gives quick satisfaction. You can check it off. You can feel productive. But the truth, it's often just a distraction from the real work. The work that feels heavier. The work that requires focus. The work that actually builds something. That's the work people avoid. Not because they're lazy, but because it's uncomfortable. It demands more from you. More attention. more discipline, more patience. And because of that, it's always easier to say, I'll do it later. But later quietly turns into never. And that's how people spend years being busy without ever building anything meaningful. So here's a simple shift that can change everything. Every day, ask yourself one question. What is the one thing I can do today that actually matters? Not 10 things, not a long list. One thing. The thing that, if completed, would make the day count. The thing that moves something real forward, and then do that first, before distractions, before messages, before everything else tries to take your attention away. Because if you don't protect your time, everything else will take it from you. And you'll end the day the same way most people do. Tired, busy, but unchanged. Now let's go even deeper. Every decision you make is shaping who you become. Not in a dramatic way, not all at once, but quietly, consistently, choice by choice. Think about that. Every time you choose to wake up or hit snooze, every time you choose to focus or scroll, every time you choose to do something properly or just get it done, you are casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. And one vote doesn't seem like much. It feels small, insignificant, easy to ignore, but your life is not built on one decision. It's built on thousands of them. And those choices add up, they stack, they compound, until one day you look at your life and realize it reflects exactly what you repeatedly chose. Not what you said you wanted, not what you planned, what you chose. Because choices don't lie. You can say you want discipline, but if your daily choices lean toward comfort, your life will reflect comfort. You can say you want success, but if your choices avoid effort, your results will show that. This is not punishment. It's alignment. Your life aligns with your actions, always. And here's the powerful part. You can change it, not by making a huge announcement, not by waiting for motivation, but by changing the next choice. Just the next one. Because the next choice is where your power is. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, right here. You don't need to fix your whole life today. You just need to choose better in this moment, then do it again and again and again. And over time, those small choices become a different identity, a stronger one, a sharper one, a more disciplined one. Not because you said so, but because you proved it to yourself through action. That's how real change happens. Quietly, consistently, without needing attention. Now there's another trap, and this one is everywhere. Comparison. Looking at other people's lives and using it as a measurement for your own. It seems harmless, even motivating at times, but most of the time it drains you. Because you're comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. You're comparing your path to a completely different journey, and then wondering why you feel behind. But think about it. They didn't start where you started. They didn't face what you faced. They didn't walk your path. So why are you using their progress as proof that you're not doing enough? It doesn't make sense, and yet it happens every day. You scroll, you look, you compare, and slowly your energy drops. Your focus shifts, your confidence weakens, not because you're incapable, but because your attention left your own path and went somewhere it doesn't belong. Because your life requires your full focus, not half of it, not the part that's left after comparison. All of it. The only comparison that actually helps you is this. Who were you yesterday? And who are you today? That's it. That's the only measure that matters, because that's real, that's honest, that's within your control. And if you improve even slightly, you're moving forward. That's progress, not perfection. Progress, and progress repeated daily changes everything. Now let's come to something that might be the most important truth of all. Time is going to pass anyway. No matter what you do or don't do, time will move forward. Days will turn into weeks, weeks into years, and 5 years from now you will be 5 years older. That part is guaranteed. What's not guaranteed is what you'll have to show for it, because those 5 years can go in two directions. You can spend them the same way you've been spending your time: waiting, planning, delaying, choosing comfort, staying busy without real progress, and hoping something changes. Or you can decide that things change because you do. You can use those years to build something, to grow, to develop skills, to create opportunities, to become someone stronger, wiser, more capable. Both paths take the same amount of time. Both require days, effort, energy. The only difference is what you choose to do with them, and that difference becomes your life. So don't just think about the future. Picture it. 5 years from now, who are you? What have you built? What have you become? And then ask yourself, are my current choices leading me there or away from it? Because time doesn't care about your intentions. It only reflects your actions. And every day you're given is a chance to move in the direction you actually want. Not someday, not later. Today. This day matters, this hour matters, this moment matters, because once it passes, it's gone, and it never comes back. So don't treat your days like they're unlimited. They're not. They're finite. And that's what makes them valuable. That's what makes them worth using properly. So start treating each day like it counts, because it does. Every single one. And here's the truth that ties all of this together. You don't need a new life. You need new decisions, consistent ones, honest ones, decisions that align with the person you say you want to become. Because that version of you, it's not far away. It's built, one choice at a time. And it starts the moment you stop waiting and start doing. Right now, not later. Not when it feels easier. Now. Because now is real, and real is all you have. And the moment you truly understand that, something shifts inside you. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. You stop looking for the perfect condition and start respecting the present one. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what happens if I never try? Because that question hits differently. Failure is temporary. Regret lingers. It stays with you. It shows up in quiet moments. It reminds you of the version of your life that could have existed if you had just acted. And the truth is, most people are not held back by lack of ability. They're held back by hesitation, by overthinking, by waiting too long to move. Not because they're incapable, but because they keep delaying the moment that would prove they are capable. And delay has a way of becoming a habit. You delay once, it feels harmless. You delay again, it feels normal. You delay long enough, it becomes your lifestyle. A pattern of almost starting, almost committing, almost becoming, but almost never builds anything. It never creates results. It never changes your life. Only action does that. Real action. The kind that doesn't wait for approval. The kind that doesn't need everything to be perfect. The kind that begins even when there's doubt. And yes, there will be doubt. There will be moments where you question yourself. Moments where you feel like you're not ready. Moments where it would be easier to stop. That's part of the process, not a sign to quit, a sign that you're doing something that matters. Because easy things don't challenge you, and things that don't challenge you don't change you. So instead of avoiding that feeling, learn to move with it. Let it be there. But don't let it stop you, because courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move anyway. And every time you do that, you strengthen something inside you, something real, something that doesn't depend on motivation, something that stays even when things get hard. That's how resilience is built. Not in comfort, not in ease, but in moments where you could have stepped back and chose to step forward instead. Now understand this clearly. You don't need to feel motivated to take action. Motivation comes and goes. It's unreliable. If you depend on it, you'll always be inconsistent. What you need is commitment, a decision, a standard, something that doesn't change based on how you feel, because feelings change, daily, hourly, sometimes even moment to moment. But your actions, Those can stay consistent if you choose them consciously. So stop asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? Start asking, is this what I said I would do? And if the answer is yes, then you do it. Simple, not easy, but simple. And over time, that consistency builds something powerful. Trust in yourself. Because right now, if you're honest, there's a gap. A gap between what you say you'll do and what you actually do. And every time that gap repeats, your confidence weakens. Not because you failed, but because you didn't follow through. But the opposite is also true. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, that gap closes, and your confidence grows. Not fake confidence, not talk, real confidence. The kind that comes from proof, from evidence, from showing yourself again and again, I can rely on me. And that changes everything. Because once you trust yourself, you stop second-guessing every move. You stop hesitating so much. You stop waiting for external validation. You become more decisive, more focused, more effective. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And that strength is built through repetition, through discipline, through doing the right thing consistently. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable but necessary. Your environment, the people around you, the habits you've normalized, the routines you've accepted. All of these are either helping you grow or quietly keeping you where you are. There is no neutral. And if you're constantly surrounded by distraction, by negativity, by people who don't take their lives seriously, it becomes harder to take yours seriously too. Not impossible, but harder. Because your environment influences your standards. It shapes what feels normal. So if doing the bare minimum is normal around you, you'll slowly start accepting less from yourself. But if growth is normal, discipline is normal, effort is normal, you'll rise to meet that standard. That's why you have to be intentional, not just about what you do, but about what you allow around you. Because what you tolerate becomes your reality. And if you want to change your life, you have to be willing to change what you accept. That might mean spending less time in certain places, less time with certain people, less time on things that drain your focus. Not because you're better than anyone, but because you're serious about becoming better yourself. And that requires sacrifice. There is no way around it. Growth always asks for something in return. Your time, your comfort, your old habits, your excuses. And most people don't want to give those up, so they stay where they are, not because they have to, but because they chose not to pay the price. But you need to decide, what is it worth to you to become stronger, more disciplined, more focused, more in control of your life? What are you willing to give up for that? Because until you answer that honestly, nothing changes. But once you do, everything starts to shift. Slowly, step by step, choice by choice, until one day you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. Not because of one big moment, but because of hundreds of small, consistent ones. Moments where you chose better. Moments where you didn't quit. Moments where you showed up, even when it was hard. That's how transformation really happens. Quietly, gradually, but powerfully. And it's available to you right now, not in the future, not when things are easier. Now. Because this moment is where everything begins. And if you've stayed with these words this long, then something inside you is already responding. Not to the sound of the voice, but to the truth behind it. Because truth doesn't need to be forced. It lands, it settles, and it stays with you. You don't forget it. You might ignore it for a while. You might try to go back to old habits, but once you've seen clearly, you can't fully go back to not seeing. And right now, you're seeing. You're seeing where time has been slipping. You're seeing where comfort has been chosen over growth. You're seeing where planning replaced action, where distraction replaced direction, where hesitation replaced movement. And this is not a moment for guilt. It's a moment for clarity. Because guilt keeps you stuck in the past. Clarity moves you forward. So don't sit there thinking about everything you didn't do. That won't help you. Instead, focus on what you can still do. because that's where your power is, not behind you, in front of you, in the next decision, in the next action, in what you choose after this moment ends, because this moment will end, just like every other one has. And the question is, what will you do with what comes next? Will you go back to the same patterns, the same delays, the same comfortable routines that slowly keep you in place? Or will you interrupt it, right here, right now, with something different, something intentional, something real? Because change doesn't come from thinking differently. It comes from acting differently. And that action doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be real. Maybe it's starting the thing you've been avoiding. Maybe it's finishing something you left halfway. Maybe it's removing a distraction that's been stealing your time. Maybe it's doing one difficult task properly. Not perfectly, but properly. And that's enough, because small actions, when done consistently, become powerful over time. That's how momentum starts, not with a burst of energy, but with a single step, and then another, until stopping feels harder than continuing, until discipline becomes natural, until effort becomes part of who you are. And at that point, you're no longer forcing yourself to grow. You're becoming someone who grows. And that identity shift is everything. Because once you become that person, you don't need constant reminders. You don't need motivation. You don't need external pressure. You move because it's who you are. You act because it's your standard. And standards are what separate average lives from exceptional ones. Not talent, not luck. Standards, what you accept from yourself, what you tolerate, what you refuse to compromise on. And those standards are built through repetition, through choices, through the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. That's where your real life is being shaped. Not in big public moments, but in private ones. In the way you use your time, in the way you respond to difficulty, in the way you handle your responsibilities. That's where your future is being created. Right now. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. And if you truly understand that, you stop taking your time lightly. You stop saying, "I'll do it later," so easily. You stop treating your days like they're unlimited, because you realize they're not. Each day is a piece of your life, a real one, a limited one, and once it's gone, it's gone. So instead of asking, "How do I change everything?" ask a better question. What does my next hour look like? Because your life is not built in years. It's built in hours. And if you take control of your hours, your days improve, your weeks improve, your life improves, one block at a time. So be intentional, not just with big goals, but with small moments, because small moments decide big outcomes. Now take a breath, not to pause, but to recognize you're here, you're aware, and you still have time. That matters. That's powerful. Because many people go years without ever reaching this level of honesty with themselves. They stay distracted. They stay comfortable. They stay unaware. But you're facing it. And that gives you an advantage, but only if you use it, because awareness without action changes nothing. It just becomes another thought, another idea, another moment that passed without impact. So don't let this be that. Don't let this be something you listen to, feel inspired for a moment, and then forget. Let this be a turning point, a quiet one, a personal one, a real one, where you decide, I'm done delaying, I'm done waiting, I'm done choosing what's easy over what matters. And then you prove it, not with words, with action. Starting today, starting now, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, even if no one notices, because this is not about them. It's about you, your life, your time, your potential, and what you choose to do with it. Because at the end of all of this, after all the thinking, all the planning, all the waiting, everything comes down to one simple truth. You either build your life or you watch it pass. There is no middle, no safe zone, no place where things magically improve without effort. You are either moving forward or you are standing still. And standing still over time feels exactly like falling behind. So move. Even if it's slow, even if it's messy, just don't stay stuck. Because the version of you that you keep thinking about, the one you imagine, the one you know you could become, is not created by thinking. It's created by doing. Daily. Consistently. Relentlessly. Until it becomes real. And it can become real. Not someday. Not in another life. In this one, with the time you still have, but only if you start. Only if you stop waiting for permission and give it to yourself right now. So don't close this moment the same way you've closed others. Don't walk away unchanged. Make a decision, a real one, and act on it immediately, because this is it. This is the moment. Not a perfect one, but a real one. And real is all you need.